This is Mark Bishop. You're watching Retro-Ketchup, Episode 8. All about Marvel Comics, Captain America, the Incredible Hulk. Quite a bit about Jack Kirby. I'm a big Jack Kirby fan too. What are the cool things that you remember from when you were growing up? The things that when you see them now, they still make you smile. Kind of takes you back in time, maybe to a happier place. I hope so. You and I probably have a lot in common. If you built model kits when you were a kid, watched monster movies, science fiction movies, fantasy movies, cartoons on Saturday mornings, if you traded baseball cards like we did, maybe traded comic books. I was a comic book kid growing up, mostly through the 1970s. And there was always this debate, are you a DC Comics person or a Marvel Comics person? There's no wrong answer. Anyway, let's put some model kits together and have fun talking about all the things we enjoyed when we were kids. Today I'm putting together a couple of model kits from Marvel Comics, the 1966 Captain America from Aurora and the 1974 Incredible Hulk, which was a re-release of that 60s version of the Hulk model kit. Thought it would be kind of cool to put them together. What I actually want to do is, back in 1977, Marvel Comics put out a comic book called What If, where they reimagined their superheroes in different scenarios than what you were used to seeing them in. So I thought it would be cool to put the Hulk back in the World War II days with Captain America. Something else that happened in 1977 was a TV show came on, The Incredible Hulk, with Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. I remember how excited we were to watch The Incredible Hulk every week and to see one of our superheroes come to life. We had the trading cards, and my friends and I would trade for those with the baseball cards. You know, you could get 3 Hulk cards for 1 Pete Rose, but that's another story for another day. lots of people know who Captain America is now because of the blockbuster Marvel movies that are so popular. But the behind-the-scenes history of Captain America is just fascinating. Captain America, created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, debuted in 1941 at Timely Comics, which was Marvel Comics before it was known as Marvel Comics. The Captain America comic book hit newsstands in March of 1941, 9-10 months before the U.S. entered the war after the attack on Pearl Harbor. In March of 1941, most folks wanted to stay out of the war and favored staying neutral. But Joe Simon and Jack Kirby were second-generation Jewish immigrants, and they used Captain America to protest the stuff that was happening in Europe. And the cover of Captain America #1 shows the Cap famously punching Hitler in the face. That didn't sit well with some groups. The offices of Timely Comics got flooded with hate mail and picketing outside of the offices, and Simon and Kirby even received death threats. But the two guys never backed down. Once the attack on Pearl Harbor happened in December and the U.S. did enter the war, Captain America became a mainstream patriotic symbol. Sales exploded. Captain America comics became a juggernaut, sold about 1 million copies a month. And after Captain America's success, all the other comic book companies tried to come up with their own red, white, and blue heroes, but none of them lasted like Captain America. Jack Kirby himself was drafted into the war, and he didn't end up in a cushy desk job either. He was sent to Europe to serve in the infantry, and there he would sneak to the front lines and sketch out maps of enemy positions. And Jack Kirby was there at the Battle of the Bulge. In a way, Jack Kirby kind of was like Captain America.
Power Records presents Captain America and the Falcon in And a Phoenix Shall Arise. Captain America and the Falcon on night patrol.
Cap! Hey, Cap, what's with you, bud?
You're moping around like you just lost
very early on, companies discovered that they could sell more cereal or lunch boxes, toys, puzzles, coloring books, peanut butter, whatever, if they attached some beloved character to it. In 1909, Kellogg's realized they could sell more cereal if they put cartoon characters on the boxes. In the 30s, the Disney company was everywhere on every kind of product you can imagine. In the 1950s, Aladdin Industries put Hopalong Cassidy, a Western hero, on one of their lunch boxes. Sales went from 50,000 units a year to 600,000. We really did grow up with these characters. They weren't just on TV and movies and on the radio. They were on the peanut butter jar sitting on the kitchen table. So I had this picture in my mind of Captain America and the Hulk squaring off against some war machine created by the Red Skull. And I grabbed some sundae cups from the cupboard. I really had this planned out well, didn't I? Grabbed some sundae cups and some foam board and just started carving legs. And in my mind, I kind of had a picture of what this thing would look like. It's something that we've probably seen in movies and on comic book covers before. I have no idea what this is going to look like. It's kind of fun, though, to just make it up as you go along. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be fun. It's hard to grow up without knowing at least a few superheroes. Comic books, movies, television, newspaper comic strips, lunchboxes, trading cards, t-shirts, posters. Why do we love superheroes? I guess because superheroes keep us young.
Engaging your flight. Losing.
This is Mark Bishop. You've been watching Retro-Ketchup. We'll catch up with you next time.